And a very warm welcome back. This is your Feel Good Breakfast show, Expresso on SABC3. Now, during Women's Month, we're celebrating courageous and inspirational South African women from different industries who have overcome harsh circumstances in their lives and are now uplifting their communities. Now, Dr. Dalene von Delft is one such individual who, after having contracted multi-drug resistant tuberculosis while working as a physician in 2010, was inspired to start the TB-Proof organization, which seeks to create awareness and empower healthcare workers and students to protect themselves and their patients more effectively against tuberculosis transmission. And she joins us on the couch to tell us a bit more about this inspirational story. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So let's go back into your story a little bit and find out a bit more about when you first discovered that you had contracted TB. What was that like for you to deal with those emotions?
So I wasn't that ill, I just had a dry cough that didn't want to go away. So I decided to screen myself because I'm a healthcare worker and at high risk. I went for a chest x-ray and basically got the fright of my life. I had a big hole in my one lung. And so I knew it was TB and I was started on treatment. But 2 days later, it happened to be Christmas Eve, I accidentally opened the email that was intended for my husband. I found out I had MDR TB, like you said, multi-drug resistant TB. This came as a bigger shock because I realized MDR TB only has a cure rate of about 50%, so you only have a 50% of getting cured. And it was very difficult for me. As a doctor, we get trained to break bad news, but we were not trained in how to deal with when you have a life-threatening disease that's contagious, that's airborne. So you think about your family, your colleagues, your patients that you have potentially exposed. And also, you don't want people to come near you because you're so scared that they would also contract this disease. So my husband, he was on his way home when he got the email and he wanted to break the news to me, but I decided to lock the door to my room. And so he wanted to comfort me, but he couldn't. And you know, that's really tough for all TB patients because you actually want sort of comfort from family, but you can't have that. So what we decided to do, we talked a bit behind the locked door and we decided to put on masks. So we put on masks and we drove to hospital. And this was basically how I spent the next 2.5 months, wearing a mask whenever I saw people.
Yeah, and over and above the fact that you had contracted this MDR tuberculosis, multi-drug resistant tuberculosis, the medication that you had to take apparently possibly had life-threatening side effects.
Yes, so I was started on 7 different oral drugs and an injectable drug, a drip that I had to get every day. And the drugs are comparable to chemotherapy. They have a lot of side effects, one of which is unfortunately hearing loss. I knew up to 1/3 of patients get hearing loss, so I screened myself regularly. And I was absolutely devastated when I started developing high-frequency hearing loss. I love music, so I ended up listening to music the whole day, driving my husband crazy. But my doctor said, well, it's rather deaf than dead. We don't have any other options. I was not prepared to take that answer because I realized it would have ended my career. I wouldn't be able to use my stethoscope to see patients. But I had a backup plan. I told my doctor I want to stop this drug. I heard of a new drug. It's the first new drug in over 40 years for TB. And I was very lucky. I was the first patient to get access to this new drug.
Oh my goodness. And then this entire journey that you went through sparked your idea and your passion to want to start the initiative that you have. Tell me a bit more about the TB-Proof organization.
So TB-Proof was started independently by activists and advocates, mainly students and doctors that come face-to-face with TB. We realized that the epidemic in this country is out of control. It's getting worse and because of drug resistance. So we started advocating, and because my story drew a lot of media attention, because I was the first patient to get access, this only fueled our organization. People came to us, shared their stories, and we realized that there's a lot of stigma out there related to TB, and by sharing personal stories, we kind of break down the stigma and we show that anyone can get TB and people shouldn't be afraid to test. It's a curable disease. As I'm evidence, even you can get cured from MDR TB.
Yeah, and evidence of great inspiration indeed. I've got to congratulate you, the fact that you've won the Center for Global Health and Diplomacy Award. You've won the Global Public Health Young Achiever Award for the work that you do. Does this inspire you to carry on moving forward, doing greater things for TB awareness?
Of course. TB, unfortunately, has been the biggest killer in our country for the past 7 years. And last year, it surpassed HIV as being the biggest infectious killer in the world.
Sure.
It kills over 4,000 people a day. So we have a lot of work to do.
Absolutely. Can people find you online, support your work? How do they do so?
They can just Google TB Proof. We're on the web, tbproof.org. And my email address is there. They're welcome to contact me.
Wow, Dr. von Delft, thank you so much for bringing your inspirational story to us, especially as we celebrate Women's Month and inspirational women that are changing our communities out there. You are one such individual.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic stuff. Well, there you have it. tbproof.org is where you can find information online.